Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming tonight for Ruth Stirton's Artist Talk. I'll say a little bit about her. So Ruth Stirton is an emerging artist and fine art photographer based in East Sussex. She has bipolar disorder and much of her art is affected and inspired by her changing moods. She is inspired by the power of the sea and the coastal landscape. Her first photography exhibition captured fleeting moments around the coastal seascape, highlighting the intangibility of human experiences. The content of her art is more variable in nature, but she often returns to the sea for inspiration. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Kirsty. That's a really great introduction. So I think that I was a photographer. I've been a photographer for a decade, and the thing that photography taught me was to look at things and to really see what was there. And that has sort of developed into the art that I've been producing. So I want to talk a little bit about my mental health, because clearly that's particularly important in the context of this exhibition, but also it's becoming more important in the context of the art I'm producing as well. So I've always had periods of low mood, low level depression. I managed it sometimes with alcohol, mildly problematically, but these things happen. And in 2018, I had what was beautifully described by the psychiatrist as a full-blown manic episode. And it was terrifying, to be honest. And what followed from that at the beginning of 2019 was a diagnosis with bipolar disorder. And again, that was another level of terrifying. It took nearly 18 months from the first manic episode to get me onto a drug regime that actually stabilized me. So I had quite a long time of not being able to work, not being able to live the life I wanted to live. And eventually, daytime TV got very, very boring, very boring. So in the way that people with bipolar disorder often do, I had this idea of, I just need to do something. I know, I'm going to learn to draw. And off I popped. And to my complete surprise, I really enjoyed myself. And I was also quite good at it, which again came as a complete surprise. And so I worked on pencil drawing for about 6 months, and then somebody gave me some watercolours. And I thought, well, I've got some watercolours now, so I'll learn how to use watercolours. And again, to my complete surprise, I loved it, and I was producing stuff that was quite good. It was, it not just recognizable as the thing I was trying to paint, but there was feeling behind it as well. And what I started to understand was that art was really helping me to process and manage and deal with this new psychiatric condition, this new diagnosis, this fundamental change to my life. And I just wanted to do more of it, and I wanted to learn how to do art, learn about different mediums, and just to enjoy myself with art. So I started a diploma in drawing and painting just after the pandemic started, and I'm doing it with the London Art College, and it's a distance course. But what that's given me is it's given me some skills, some additional skills beyond the things I'd taught myself. But it's also given me a huge amount of space to explore and develop my own work, and to really get to grips with this link to my mental health. I was absolutely over the moon to have these 3 pieces accepted into the exhibition, and I submitted them completely on a whim, thinking there was no chance. So when I got the response, I was, yeah, I did a little dance around the house. It was very exciting. And I think what's important about these pieces is that they're part of a growing body of work that I'm affectionately calling my bipolar art. And what I'm discovering through this bipolar art collection that I'm creating is that sometimes the bipolar guides the content of the piece, but sometimes it guides the process of creating a piece. And then occasionally you get the moment of magic where the process and the content come together, and actually it is all about the bipolar, and it's a manifestation of the bipolar, if you like. So just to give you an example of bipolar guiding the process, this is a painting of fireworks that I did a long time before I did the ones in this exhibition, and it was a horrendous day. I was in the process of trying a new drug. It was absolutely awful. I couldn't sit still, incredibly agitated, and I needed to do something big and kind of like this, you know, and it was paint or it was go for a long run, and I wasn't entirely sure how far I would end up running, so it was safer to stay in the house. So I got out the black paper and I got out the acrylic paints, and I was like, I'm just gonna fling the paint on the paper and see what happens. And I came up with fireworks. And once I'd got this idea of light, then I did a fire, and you know, that one didn't turn out quite as nicely as the fireworks. And the process of doing the painting in a very agitated way actually helped to calm me down, to, you know, everything settled. And then, you know, I was very much enjoying myself by then. So then I moved on to painting a candle, which is, you know, light from a completely different perspective and a very different sense of mood, I think. So this is one of the early pieces where I started to realize that actually my bipolar interacted with my art practice really quite significantly. The three pictures in this exhibition are three of the magic pieces where the process and the content both came from the bipolar. So I'm going to move on to, this is the first stage of the first of the paintings. Now they're painted on translucent polypropylene knot paper, and to be completely honest, I bought it by accident. I didn't realize this was what I was buying. I picked up a bunch of pads of paper and thought, wow, this is really cool. And then I got it home and looked at it and thought, oh, what do I do with this then? And I had no plan in my head. I had no real idea what I was doing. I needed to paint, and it was very, there was a sense of compulsion about it. My head was all over the place. I needed to sit and do something that just, you know, have a play and see what this stuff did. And that is literally what I did. I thought watercolors would be a good place to start, and I used a wet on wet technique, and I literally pretty much just poured water on this plastic, and it's not the same as watercolor paper. It doesn't absorb the water, so it stayed completely flat. I'm looking at this going, what's going on? It's not the same. So I'd got this wet piece of plastic, and I thought, well, I mean, I'll just, two colours, red and blue, I'll just see what happens. You can't go wrong with primary colours. And this is what happens. I put bits of blue on and I put bits of red on, and I sort of wiggled them around a bit and crossed, and I did this sort of this line across the bottom, started as blue, and then I thought, oh, I know, I'll just add a red line and see what happens. And I really had no sense of what I was doing. It was literally, I'm going to see what happens. And this happened. And I looked at it and I thought, right, okay, yeah, fine. Also, this paper, not being actual paper, takes flipping ages to dry. Ages. So I went away and I left it, and I came back a couple of hours later and it was still wet. Okay, right. And eventually, when it had dried, I sat there looking at it thinking, what is this? What is going on here? Have I just completely wasted this weird random knot paper that I bought? But as I looked at it and just kind of looked at the shapes that were appearing, I thought, actually, there is something here. And I mean, I think I started with this one, that actually there's this sort of beautiful curve here, and there's something going on here, but there's something. I was like, okay, so what can I do? I know, secondary colour, and it needed to be drawn. So got my dip pen out, which I'm a total convert to dip pens. Oh my God, they're amazing. And I got the purple ink and I just started drawing on top of the watercolour just to see what was coming out. And I put lines all over the place. And as I was doing this emerged. So I think this is the curve that I pointed out on the previous picture, and turned it into or it might have been, actually no, it was that one, wasn't it? And these sort of curves and points appeared, and the sort of the slightly darker, the darker purple of the watercolor seemed, these shapes they were 3D shapes. They were not just flat on the page. It was something different. And I kept going, and out came this mountainous landscape, and with this sort of brooding sky above, and completely unplanned. It just happened. And I put, having then found this mountainous landscape, it seemed that there were, there are paths behind the mountains, and there's a real sense of depth to this whole picture. And it transformed in front of my face. It just became something different, and I found that a really positive experience. I mean, transformational is sounds a bit poncy, but it's that sort of, the sort of feeling of, there was this, it's a big mess of blobs. I mean, let's be honest about it. It's a mess, and for it to transform into this three-dimensional picture with depth and hidden paths and secret paths, and it felt transformational. So having done it with red and blue, I then thought, my God, there's other primary colours and there's other secondary colours. I can do it all again. and so I did it again, and I used the same process, completely the same process of the wet on wet watercolour on the same paper, on the same knot paper. and then drawing over the top of it with the dip pen. And the second and third time, I had the sense that I was looking for a landscape, and I was looking for this sort of mountainous landscape. But I also didn't know whether that was going to happen. So, it was still an exercise in exploration. So the next one I did was blue and yellow. And I mean, this one, I think the feeling that comes from this one is completely different to the feeling that comes from the previous one. I did find it remarkable that I'd managed somehow to create this shape again. So actually, when you see these two together, there's a link between the two landscapes that have emerged from my random collection of, bubbles. And I think with this one, again, there's less, or not even again, there's less mixing perhaps of the primary colours. I think the green is coming more from the ink rather than from the watercolour. And I think that's interesting that the different colours mix in different ways and allowed me to produce something different. And having done red and blue and then blue and yellow, I sort of felt that I had to do red and yellow. This was very clearly a series and I needed to complete it. And so I tried it with red and yellow, and with the ink, the orange ink on the top. And this one I think shocked me quite a lot because it's so different from the previous two. And I think the moods that are expressed through these three paintings are so different, but also actually when you look at them together are quite a realistic representation of what it is to have bipolar disorder, and this sort of fiery and dangerous landscape. I think this one is mania. This shows me, or helps me to show what it feels like to be at the very high end of the mood spectrum of bipolar, where I mean, I don't know how much people know about bipolar, but with mania and hypermania, I experience euphoria. I have all the energy, so much energy, and I'm desperate to do things. And it gets out of control, and so there's a danger involved in it. And I think this one of the series really highlights the danger associated with the manic phase of bipolar disorder. I'm going to go back again. The blue and yellow one, again, there's a sense of kind of disconnect, if you like, between the colours, and for me this one is about the mixed phase of bipolar disorder, which again, I'm not sure how much people know about it, but in the mixed phase, which is one of the things I experienced quite a lot, you have both depression and mania at the same time. So you've got all the feelings of depression, but you've got the energy of mania, which can be extremely dangerous for a person's own safety. So for me, this one is about that, and it's about that juxtaposition of extreme depression and extreme mania happening at the same time. And actually this one, the purple one, this one is, it's not the crashing depression. It's a sort of medium to mild level of depression. This is much more like stability, I think, for me and the way I experience it, that there's space to explore the depth and there's space to explore things, but it actually doesn't feel like a dangerous or unsafe terrain for me to be exploring. And I have to say, when I painted these paintings, I had no idea that this was what I was painting. This has come to me afterwards, and as I've looked at them and as I've really tried to engage with what I am doing and what this particular part of my life means. So to have other people be able to look at them, and for me to be able to explain to other people what is going on here, is really quite significant for me. So these are the three. I'm not sure which is my favorite. I think they all say different things, and I would probably have a different favorite depending on what my mood was like, if I'm being completely honest. So these are the three in the exhibition, and I wanted just to finish with almost the most recent addition to this collection of my bipolar art. And this is just, it's completely different. This one is acrylic paint. This is acrylic paint on paper, and this is very much a process painting of, it was a horrendous day. I had all the feelings. And this is my attempt to represent what it was like in my head at that point. And this bit up here, I literally picked up the tube of red paint and squeezed it onto the palette knife and slapped it on the paper. And you can sort of get the sense from this photograph of it, but that bit it's very heavily textured. It's a good half a centimetre off the paper, and this sort of, there's this, I don't know whether this was anger or frustration, or it was an intense feeling. And then with the, and then I got the yellow and the blue out, and I seem to have a primary colour thing going on, I'm realising. Blue is definitely it's a different type of feeling from red. I think red is an agitated, intense type of feeling, whereas blue is calmer, but can equally be quite intense. So I think the thinner layers of blue are the calmer feelings trying to push through, to be honest. But there's the darker blue is where there's less agitation, but they have the potential to become this sort of dark murky brown, and and when we join with the red, it becomes this really unpleasant browny blacky grey colour. And this is really about the having all of the feelings and feeling them incredibly intensely. At some point my brain stops being able to cope. It just can't handle all of this happening, and this is what becomes either a manic break, a manic episode, where I have to do something to get rid of the feelings, you know, and I could do anything, or it could become a depressive period where, you know, it becomes crashing depression, and I, you know, can't get out of bed for weeks. So it's these moments where the feelings are just too big for my head, and that's what I'm trying to convey in this picture. And you know, I was sitting in front of my easel with like tears streaming as I was painting this, because I just had to get it all out of my head. I didn't have the words to write it down, but what I did have was colour and a palette knife, and I just went for it. I think, yeah, it's an insight. Doing the painting helped quite a lot, and by the time I'd completed the painting, I felt a lot better. And so there is this, as much as I'm expressing things through the painting, it is also helping me to manage, you know, this chronic lifelong psychiatric condition that I've been landed with. And yeah, that kind of symbiotic nature of art and health and mental health for me, I think is really significant. So thank you, Kirsty, and I've prattled for ages. So I hope that's been interesting, and if anybody's got any questions, I'd be delighted to have a conversation about it.
That was fantastic. It was so inspirational and educational, in fact, to actually learn about what it is to be bipolar and how you use visuals to showcase it. It's this one that's on the screen right now. You can feel it, and it's the intensity of it, and I can't imagine feeling all of that. It's just amazing, and it sounds like your art is really, really, really helping you to understand your bipolar, to get you through your bipolar.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the reasons I love the 3-piece series that you submitted.
Yeah.
You can feel all the emotions in this just one series. I love that you called them the magic pieces.
It felt magic, and you know, it's, yeah, there's something special about that. Yeah.
It's just amazing when something just goes so perfectly and explains everything you want to explain, and you then have no words for it because it's just so perfect.
Yeah.
And how did it feel to suddenly make that leap of, I want to start doing art, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be an artist?
Honestly, pretty terrifying. I, you know, I did art at school, and I honestly thought I was rubbish, probably because we had to draw chairs, and I can't draw a chair. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it when I was a teenager. And so I stopped. And to be able to, you know, I'm in my 30s now, to be able to pick it up now and to be able to say something, you know, clearly I didn't realize I've got something to say, and this is, it's so freeing to be able to say it. Yeah, but equally terrifying.
It's I love the fact that you're picking out fleeting moments and your experience in the world. is it solely when you have your feelings of your bipolar that you do your artwork, or is it you see something and you're like, I have to record this, I have to put it down now?
It's a bit of both. So so clearly there are moments where I just have to paint and I just have to do whatever happens when I sit in front of the easel. But alongside that, I'm doing still lifes. I'm learning how to draw animals. I sit and sketch in the evening and sketch the cats, and so I'm all, alongside all of this, there's my non-bipolar art, the other stuff, which I think at this point is, I feel like I'm still learning that the technical stuff, and I feel like I've sort of tapped into it, and now I'm beginning to see just how much more there is for me to learn. So what I'm doing at the moment is oil paints. And the first time as I read this unit in my diploma, I was like, wow, there is so many technical things and this is so complicated, and how am I going to do this? And then I gave myself a bit of a talking to. Like, stop it, you can do this. So I did a load of research, got a load of stuff, and I'm completely hooked. Oil paints are amazing. Now, I don't think I'm at the stage where I could do this with oil paints, because this particular painting, I mean, I don't think I'm ready to just squeeze the oil paint out of the tube onto a palette knife and whack it on a canvas. But who knows? So the oil painting things I'm doing are much more realistic rather than abstract. Having said that, the little canvas swatch that you'll be getting in the post quite soon is an oil painting one, and it's another representation of bipolar. So that really is the most recent of my bipolar art. So yeah, I think there's this side of my work, and there's the other side which is still developing, and I don't know where it's going yet, but I suspect there's going to be more oils in my life.
That's fantastic. That sounds great. It's so amazing, and I love the way that you portray so much texture into your artwork. It just really helps get the feelings across, and I love that you call it not paper that you've been using. It's you wouldn't think when you see it that it's just plastic. You found such a incredible way of allowing your mediums that you're using to create the art or the background and lead the way. And it's happy accidents.
I mean, absolutely. Let's go back to the first one, because this was where the magic happened. And it was, I mean, honestly, when I opened this pad of paper, not paper, there was this kind of, oh my God, what have I just spent this money on? I don't even know how or what to do with this. And yeah, I mean, and when I first did it, well, you saw the first version of it. It's like, right, that it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And you can, this is before it dried as well. You can see these like pools of water. What is happening here? And for it to become this was just, transformational. I feel really silly saying that, but that's what it did. So this is obviously this is a digital version of it, and I photographed this myself, and and so you don't get you can't get the sense of the translucency of the not paper, because I had to photograph it against a flat surface. So, you know, I put it on the floor and I set my tripod over it and, you know, did all of that. Yeah, lit from the light through the window, so there's no color balance problems with it. But I think in, you know, the actual physical painting in reality looks, there is a sense of translucency in it, you can see through it. So I have literally no idea how you would frame this, not a clue. And I suspect at some point I'm just going to have to go to a framer's and hand them over and say, I did this bit of magic, please can you do something magic for me?
Yeah. It'd be really interesting. It sounds like it'd be great on like a light box, or even just as it is as like a window piece. It could be phenomenal, the light coming through it.
Oh, I might try that. Oh.
I've copyrighted it.
I'll tag you in it when I stick it on Instagram.
But I mean, translucency, or having the sunlight come through it, it will have every single tone coming through, and the tones that will then envelop the entire room.
Yeah.
It could be absolutely phenomenal to stand in. I think I need to see these in person. I'm like looking at them, I'm like, I need in the physical realm.
Well, when we're allowed.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we'll and I'll bring them and show you them. Yeah, if it's sunny tomorrow, actually it'd be interesting to try it in different weathers as well, wouldn't it? Because the different lights coming through, if these were placed on a window, could give them just a completely different sense. Oh, so I'm going to try them all with sunshine. I can guarantee there's going to be some horrible rain or dark clouds tomorrow. So what would that sort of light do?
And the rain, if you have raindrops, you get the light coming through the raindrops.
Amazing. Then yeah.
I can't wait to see it. I am so excited about other people's artwork.
It was actually, what's really lovely about these as well is coming back to them, because you know I painted these several months ago, and coming back to them and thinking about them and looking at them again and thinking how to, you know, what to do with them. And yeah, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah,
art's amazing. It's amazing. It has changed my life.
It sounds cheesy, but I've always said that art saves us. It saves our mental health. It can sometimes give us the reason to keep going, and you're doing such amazing things with it, and it's giving you that's almost stability in helping you process your emotions, your feelings, and your place in the world. And honestly, I'm here for the journey.
I mean, strap in, because it might be a long one. I mean, if we get more of these, then
I think it's such an important thing to talk about mental health, and the honesty that people bring in their artwork, for people to just get that small glimpse into what it's like, that moment in their entire lives. And it's a conversation starter, and it's one step to just understanding how other people are and just getting that sense of them. It's just like I say, I look at this one, I could never imagine feeling all of this. I felt the red hot rage, I felt the calm that I've never felt them all together, and it's so just wow. And I could look at this for ages, just trying to work out each of the pieces of the emotion, and yeah, it's stunning, really. I mean, for your sakes, I hope you don't have to do any more. But I mean, if you did more,
I haven't had to do one like this for a while, thankfully.
yeah,
But I think you're right about this. It's a conversation, and you know, bipolar disorder, it's a respectable psychiatric diagnosis, and you know, you can say it to people, and well, you know, they sort of have some idea what it means. Oh, you know, oh yeah, there's some depression in that, isn't there? But actually, the detail about it, I mean, I'd say this is probably one of the most honest conversations I've had. I mean, aside from with my therapist, about what these experiences are, and the more people talk about it, the easier it will be to talk about it. You know, and if I'd watched a conversation like this 10, 15 years ago, who knows, I might have been diagnosed then, because I might have recognized what was being said. And so yeah, I think opening the conversation, lifting the lid on this stuff is absolutely fundamental.
yeah. And can I ask, what was your feeling? Because this is such an honest piece, showing it to other people, because you're showing your vulnerability and almost like a true sense of self in that moment.
The only people who have seen this piece so far are the people I live with.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've shown it, you know, to anybody who's not related to me. And honestly, terrified, flipping terrified, because you're right, this is one of the moments of extreme vulnerability. Yeah, but I also felt I had to. I thought, you know, having started the conversation with the three landscapes, that they tell a part of my story, but this one is less nice, quite frankly. This is not sugar coated. Yeah, and that's part of the story too. And it yeah, I felt I needed to talk about it. Yeah, whether I'll still feel the same tomorrow is another question entirely.
I have to say, I think that's one of the reasons I think this last picture is really, really intriguing, because it's not sugar coated. It's when you're down and dirty. It's not got that almost that time frame to dry up and then to work back into. It's in the moment, and yeah, you can feel that it was in the moment. You can feel that you getting it all out. It needed to come out, and it needed to be seen.
Yeah.
And actually, it brings me on to another one. What was it like to because a lot of your stuff is in the moment. What was it like to have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting for it to dry before you could carry on?
Oh, it's so frustrating. Like, I need to carry on. The number of times I checked it to see if it was dry and like moved the paper to see if it was dry. It's like, oh no, that little pool of water's moved. But actually that became part of the process. So there was I was desperate to carry on, but being, and this is I suppose actually this this taps into a completely different side of bipolar, of actually being forced to wait and being forced to slow down and let something happen that you've got no control over is actually, it's really important, because it that's a calming process, and it helps to de-escalate any kind of agitation and aroused emotions. So yes, it was desperately frustrating, but doing it was very helpful. Couldn't have done it when I painted this one. There was no waiting for this one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, your artwork is fantastic. I've had a couple of comments coming in that they've really felt inspired by what you've been speaking about today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being yourself and explaining what it is to be you, and explaining the pieces and why they're so important to yourself. Yeah, we've got some very very positive comments, and I mean, it deserves nothing less than positive comments. It's absolutely fantastic, and I would like to say a massive thank you for being a part of the exhibition, and a massive thank you for coming on tonight and speaking about it.
Well, you're very welcome. I've really enjoyed myself, and I'm so glad that people found it helpful and interesting. Yeah, and thanks for the opportunity. It's amazing.
And if anyone's enjoyed what they've heard tonight, our final artist talk in the Human Mind series will be tomorrow night with Jemima Ogbaru, where she will be talking about her watercolor pieces, which are in the exhibition. That one should actually be exciting as well. So once again, thank you so much, Ruth, for being here tonight and talking about your artwork. It would be fantastic, and it will be made available on YouTube.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So have a good evening, and I will see you soon.
Yes, thank you ever so much, Kirsty.
Brilliant. Bye.
Bye-bye.